Welcome to part 1 of a 2-part series where we travel across the 50 states of America. This project is in conjunction with Amusementscape, the channel formerly known as WNY Coasters. When we're not doing YouTube, we fight to the death in fantasy football, and we also happen to share a birthday, so that's a thing. Together, we went across the country, figuratively, not literally, counted every coaster, and put together this 2-part series ranking them from the saddest collection to the greatest collection. After you watch part 1 here on Airtime Thrills, head over to Amusementscape to check out part 2. So here's how it's gonna work. We're gonna take 5 at a time. So he's gonna have 10 on my video, and I'm gonna have 10 on his video. So when you hear the voices change, it's okay, just chill out. We gotta kick this off with 3 states that are not blessed with a permanent coaster. First, you got Delaware. Don't feel sorry for them. They're still right in the middle of coaster country. Just gotta leave that tiny state. Speaking of tiny states, you also got Rhode Island. Not sure you can fit more than an SBF spinner here, so if they want to ride coasters, you're surrounded by a lot of small and mid-sized parks in other states. Finally, there's Hawaii. This one kinda hurts. You're out there in paradise, but there's no coasters to ride. So is this really paradise? Sounds like hell to me. Thousands of miles of ocean between you and the nearest coaster. I'm sorry, that's no way to live. Next up, we have the states with a single coaster, and the first one resides in the least populated state. Wyoming only has 500,000 people. I think Six Flags Great America had that when I was there during Fright Fest, and I think twice as many people were in line for Hagrid's the day it opened. But those 500,000 people have one coaster, and it's a good one. Cowboy Coaster at Snow King Mountain Resort, a vegan alpine coaster. Less fortunate is another obscure state, this being the 4th least populated state and the one that people make fun of the most, North Dakota. Question is, if nobody has ever seen this place, does it really exist? I'm not convinced. If it does, then their one coaster is legit, but it's only a Wisdom Rides Dragon Wagon. This is called Runaway Train, and it's at Super Slide Amusement Park.
Continuing with our single coaster tier, we have Montana, which literally almost has nearly double the amount of cows and people. So it's not a shock that we are seeing it this early on. The one coaster is a Wegan Mountain Coaster, appropriately named Flathead Lake Alpine Coaster. Next, we have what I would call the saddest state for roller coasters in the country, which is Louisiana, with only one operating coaster in the state, despite it being number 25 in population. It earns that title because it has 7, yes 7, standing but not operating coasters. 4 of those are at the long abandoned Six Flags New Orleans, but the other 3 come at a more recently closed location, Dixie Landing in Baton Rouge. The lone operating coaster in the state is Ladybug at Carousel Gardens. The final state in the loner tier is Alaska, and the lone permanent coaster here is Aftershock at the Alaska State Fair. So if you don't come between late August and early September, you're out of luck. You're probably not missing much though, as this is just a very average run-of-the-mill Interpark Super Cyclone that actually came from America's Fun Park in Branson, Missouri. So if you didn't ride it then, it'll probably be a lot tougher to ride now. Upgrading to the 2 coaster tier, we have Vermont. Vermont lays claim to 2 mountain coasters. The older of the 2 is Timber Ripper Mountain Coaster, a Wegan product with a length of a little over 3,000 feet. The newer and longer of the 2 is Beast Mountain Coaster, with a length of 4,800 feet. This coaster was actually manufactured by a New York-based company called the Aquatic Development Group. So I guess anyone can build a mountain coaster? The second and less exciting occupant of the 2 coaster tier is Nebraska, which certainly has way less coasters than corn. The smallest coaster this state has is Go Gator, a very small Wisdom Rides powered coaster located at a park called Funplex. Probably only suitable for children, so don't get your hopes up searching for this one. The other coaster is another kiddie coaster called Safari, in the form of a now very rare BA Shift coaster located at the Saunders County Fairgrounds in Wahoo.
Next up is the better Dakota, the one with the president's faces on the rocks, the one that almost got an RMC Raptor, South Dakota. They have 3 coasters, and wouldn't you believe it, they're all in different places. You got Buffalo Hunt at Fort Hays Chuckwagon, a vegan mystical hex, basically a suspended family mountain coaster. Vegan also has a traditional mountain coaster, Rushmore Mountain Coaster at Rush Mountain Adventure Park. That 3rd coaster is, of course, their Giga. Just kidding. It's a Zamperla gravity coaster called Humpty Dumpty's Great Fall at Storybrooke Land. Now we're into the 4 coaster tier, and first up we got West Virginia. 3 of those 4 are at Camden Park. And no, one of them is not the Aero Shuttle that used to operate at Kings Island. That was taken out in 1999. The biggest and best of the 4 is Big Dipper, a national amusement device wooden coaster that dates back to 1958. West Virginia is surrounded by gold, but there isn't much at home. The other state with 4 coasters is Mississippi. You're not that far from Florida, I'm just saying. Get in the car and just drive. The sooner you leave, the sooner you'll get there. This year, they opened an SBF Visa hamster wheel coaster. This is Rolling Thunder at Paradise Pier Fun Park. It may be a kid's coaster, but that's kinda awesome. The other coaster that has any size is at Big Play Entertainment Center. This SBF Cyclone called Biloxi Beach Hurricane, one of those portable fair coasters. So yeah, like I said, Florida, or Dollywood, or Texas, just go. Starting our group with 5 coasters is Nevada. We decided to leave Desperado off this list. It's been closed for 4 years, and they keep teasing us that it'll reopen, but I don't trust them farther than I can throw them. I don't know who them is, but it doesn't matter. I shouldn't be throwing anyone. You got the big Crapple coaster, your 2 at Adventure Dome. You got the pieces of Speed the Ride sitting there in the hot sun. Sorry, this one doesn't count. And when you leave the strip, you got Piff the Magic Dragon. Yeah, not Puff, but Piff. I don't know, so don't ask. Also a new one, this oval kids coaster called Toy Story Land. It's given me Slinky Dog Dash vibes, and how they got Disney to sign off on this, I don't know. I'm guessing, and keep in mind, this is just a guess. I think it had something to do with money. The other state with 5 coasters is Oregon. Here, you want to focus on their 2 main parks, Enchanted Forest and Oaks Amusement Park. That's where you're going to find the best coaster here, Adrenaline Peak, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Then you go to Enchanted Forest. It's charming in a creepy way, and get your credit on Big Timber Log Ride, making you question your true definition of a roller coaster. Then you got Ice Mountain Bobsled, which makes you wonder if this is the weirdest coaster you've ever ridden. Then wonder why this even exists. And then you wonder why you as a coaster enthusiast are in Oregon to begin with.
For number 35, we go all the way up to the northern tip of the mainland with Maine, and it's 6 coasters. Here we have 3 parks with the title of most coasters going to Palace Playland with 3, including Sea Viper, a very interesting family coaster from Preston and Barbieri. Funtown Splashtown USA has a Wild Mouse and Excalibur, a pretty solid looking 100-foot tall wooden coaster from CCI. The collection is rounded out by a Wacky Worm at York's Wild Kingdom. Not a bad collection for one of the smaller states. The first of 2 states with 7 coasters, we have Mexico. Wait, not that Mexico. I'm talking about the new one. There's 2 main parks here with Western Playland and Cliffs Amusement Park. Western Playland doesn't have anything too special, although it does have a rare STC Hurricane. Cliffs Amusement Park has a couple of off-the-shelf coasters along with New Mexico Rattler. This coaster was designed and supposed to be built by CCI, but the company went bankrupt in 2002. Right during the middle of this project, so the park went out and finished it themselves to give the state a standout coaster. The second state with 7 coasters is Arkansas. Magic Springs does most of the heavy lifting here with 5 of the state's 7 coasters and the only notable ones at that. X Coaster, a Mauer X car, is the largest coaster in the state, standing at 151 feet tall. The other heavy hitters, literally, are Gauntlet, the park's Vekoma SLC, and Arkansas Twister, the park's wooden coaster that seems to be famous for all the wrong reasons. The collection is rounded out by Big Bad John, an Aerodynamics Mine Train, and the kiddie coaster, Diamond Mine Run. One-upping Arkansas is Connecticut, checking in with 8 coasters in the number 32 spot. Lake Compounds has homed over half the state's coasters with a total of 5, including what might be one of the most overrated coasters ever with Boulder Dash. This park also has Zoomerang, your everyday Vekoma Boomerang, Phobia Fear Coaster, a Skyrocket 2, Wildcat, my current least favorite adult coaster, and Kiddie Coaster. Not too far down the road, there's Quasi Amusement Park, which has Wooden Warrior, the official Airtime Thrills coaster, and my favorite in the state. Kansas is the first of a whopping 5 states with 9 coasters, although it's kinda hard to believe. Only one park has more than 1 coaster, and that's All-Star Adventures. Both of those coasters are kiddie coasters. The other 7 are all kiddie coasters scattered across the state. So the next time someone tells you there's nothing in Kansas, you can tell them that there's 9 different roller coasters built for kids that you can seek out.
Also with 9 coasters, we have Idaho. Don't be searching through the chimney state too long. 7 of these are in Athol, up in the skinny part, at a park that's totally worth going to, but is in no way easy to get to. This is Silverwood. 2 very solid wooden coasters in Trimmers and Timber Terror. One of the old Deja Vus in Aftershock. The original modern inverting coaster in Corkscrew. An RMC Raptor in Stunt Pilot. And don't forget Tiny Toot. If you leave Silverwood without that credit, just turn your enthusiast card in. You don't belong. Arizona also has 9, and having traveled through Arizona a whole bunch of times, I want to know where they're keeping 9 coasters. Okay, 2 of those are at Mattel Adventure Park, and that's not open yet, but it will be next year, or so they say. I don't trust them, farther than, well, I'm not going through this again. One of those coasters is going to be a Launch Chance Hyper GTX with 4 inversions. Speaking of chance, Wildlife World also has one of those, this being a big time Big Dipper. Just don't try and ride this in the summer since it's not open when it's 118 degrees. You can go to Castles and Coasters in the summer and ride coasters in the 118 degree heat. I know, because that's what I stupidly did. Here, you got a couple Hopkins coasters, Patriot and Desert Storm. Next up with 9, let's talk about Oklahoma? There's no way we're tied with Arizona. That's insane. We would have 10, but there's a wild mouse standing but not operating at Eagle Park. And since that's been abandoned since before I was born, that looks like a non-starter. Aside from My Home Coaster at Tulsa's Incredible Pizza Company, you'll find your biggest haul at Frontier City. This little Six Flags park gets mocked, but does it deserve it? Maybe, but you're not allowed. Only I am. Still, we got a classic Aero Shuttle Loop in Diamondback, a classic Schwarzkopf Looper in Silver Bullet, and a wooden coaster that's definitely rideable in Wildcat. Sadly, that's all I can ask for. Last state with 9, this is Alabama. You got some kiddie coasters scattered around, but you'll find 2 parks here that have 3 coasters. One is Alabama Adventure and the state's most iconic coaster, Rampage. And then you have Tropic Falls and the state's only coaster that runs with trains that ride like an old rusty shopping cart, Rollin' Thunder. Both parks also have Wild Mouse coasters, but the one at Tropic Falls spins. So yeah, I guess that means it wins. It spins, it wins. Words to live by. Now we are headed into the double digits. Yep, we're leaving the kids table and going to, well, not the adults table. We're going to the big kids table. No more sippy cups. We've graduated to Capri Suns, and the first state we're looking at is Washington. They've got some random kids coasters and 1 alpine coaster, but the main focus here is Wild Waves in the Washington State Fair. The fair lost Rainier Rush. That's sad. Well, not really. That ride was horrible, but you're still only left with 2. The very solid classic coaster, and the great Schwarzkopf classic, Wildcat. Wild Waves has 4 coasters, the headliner being the big S&S Woody Timberhawk, definitely having more bark than bite. That's a wrap on part 1. If you want to see part 2, go over to Amusementscape right now and check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, please give me a sub. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server. That has a new section for our nightly news roundup in the theme park world, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to be a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.